Cycling one morning, Professor Decker Keltner had a near-death experience. "I was riding my bike to campus," he recalls, "and I came to a crossing. I had the right of way, but this big luxury car just didn't slow down. With only about 1 meter to spare before impact, the driver finally stopped. He seemed both surprised and contemptuous, as if I was in his more important way." Keltner's first response was a mixture of anger and relief. His university had not lost a psychology professor that day. His second was more academic. Was there, he wondered, a measurable difference between the behavior of owners of luxury cars and that of other drivers? The professor sent a group of psychology students to monitor driving etiquette and keep notes on car models. They noted which drivers allowed pedestrians their right of way at street crossings, and which drivers pretended not to see them and sped straight past. The results couldn't have been clearer. People driving luxury cars were a quarter as likely to stop at a crossing and 4 times more likely to cut in front of another car than drivers of less expensive cars. The more luxurious the vehicle, the more entitled its owner felt to violate the traffic laws. What happened on the road also happened in the lab. In some experiments, Keltner and his collaborators put participants from a variety of income levels to the test. In others, they tried to make participants feel less powerful or more powerful by asking them to think about people more or less powerful than themselves, or to think about times when they felt strong or weak. The results all pointed in the same direction. People who felt powerful were less likely to be considerate. Wealthy participants were more likely to cheat in games involving small cash rewards and to dip their hands into a jar of sweets marked for the use of visiting children. When watching a video about childhood cancer, their faces showed fewer signs of sympathy. Not everyone accepts this conclusion, however. When Keltner and his colleagues published an influential paper on the subject in 2010, 3 European academics, Martin Korndorfer, Stefan Schmuckel and Boris Agloff, wondered if it would be possible to reproduce the findings of small lab-based experiments using much larger sets of data from surveys carried out by the German state. The idea was to see whether this information, which documented what people said they did in everyday life, would offer the same picture of human behavior as results produced in the lab. "We simply wanted to reproduce their results," says Boris Agloff, "which seemed very believable to us." The numbers obtained, however, did not fit the expected patterns. Taken as a whole, they suggested the opposite. Privileged individuals, the data suggested, were proportionally more generous to charity than their poorer fellow citizens, more likely to volunteer, more likely to help a traveler struggling with a suitcase or to look after a neighbor's cat. Who, then, is right? Are powerful people nicer or nastier than powerless ones? How can we explain the conflicting answers yielded by these two sets of data? It may be that rich people are better at disguising their selfishness than poor people. If being generous in public brings rewards, then rich people might be more inclined to help old ladies across roads. Drivers, invisible in their cars, need not worry about aggressive driving damaging their reputations. And Keltner points out that the data come from people's accounts of their own generosity, and not from actually observing their good actions. We know from other studies that the wealthy are more likely to lie and exaggerate about ethical matters, he says. Self-reported data in economics and face-to-face data in psychology capture different processes. What I say I do in society may not be how I behave with actual people. But it is also possible that the problem lies not with the survey data but with the psychological experiments. In August 2015, the journal Science reported that a group of 270 academics, led by Brian Nosek, a respected professor of psychology at the University of Virginia, had attempted to reproduce the results of 100 similar psychological studies. 97 of the original studies had produced results consistent with the hypotheses being tested. Only 36 of the Nosek group's experiments did the same. Those numbers threaten to undermine the entire discipline of experimental psychology, for if a result cannot be reproduced, it must be in doubt. The connection between privilege and selfishness, then, is still unproved.